بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا من فضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So we're continuing this class on Tajweed. I forgot to bring my notes. Do you have yours? Okay, so we're all noteless today. So essentially, we said that the class is divided into three parts, and there's the makharij al-huruf and sifat al-huruf, which are the articulation points of the letters and the qualities or characteristics of the letters. And then there's the ahkam, which are the rules. So there's rules of mim sakin, there's rules of nun sakin and tanween, there's rules of mud. And then the last portion is going to be the ilm al-wuquf wal-ibtida, which is the rules of starting and stopping, which are also very important. And so what we've been doing each week is we've been taking a little bit from each category. We've been taking a little bit of the makharij, a little bit of the ahkam. So far what we've done is we've gone through the rules of, we started the rules of nun sakin and tanween, so we did izhar. So by way of review, what is izhar? Clarity, right? So we said when there's a nun sakin or tanween followed by 6 letters, we do izhar. So what are those 6 letters? It's all in this notes that I have lots of copies of that I left. Okay, so how does it go in like the right order? Right? So he says in the poem, Hamzun faha'un thumma aynun ha'un, and then muhmadatan, which is not really useful, but ghaynun kha'un. So Hamza ha, Ayn ha, Ghayn kha. Okay? Hamza ha, Ayn ha, Ghayn kha. So when you have one of those 6 letters after a noon with a sukoon or a tanween, what do we do? What do we do? Yeah, so it's clarity, it's izhar, right? So what's the basic example? I think Sindiata went outside, but the one that, is most basic, we say, right? In Surah Fatiha, right? There's a noon with sukoon followed by an ayn, and it's very obvious. This is the easiest rule. That's why they teach it first, because there's nothing to do, right? So you just say an'amta. There's no ghunna, there's no joining, there's no idgham, there's no assimilation, there's no nothing. It's just basically an'amta, right? So that was the first one. We took examples of that, and we'll get practice when we recite. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. So those 6 letters, though, all of the stuff that we study is interrelated. So those 6 letters of izhar in the category of makharij, in the study of articulation points, what is their relationship? The throat, yeah, the throat. So those are huruf al-halq. So we said, actually, I really wish I had the notes. We said that in terms of makharij, there's going to be broad areas that letters articulate from, right? There's broad areas. So there's, the first one was what? Yeah, so like al-jawf, like the general cavity, and those are the vowel sounds. So a, e, u, right? You can't point like a comes from like a certain place. You can't say that. It's just the general, they just call it the body cavity, because they're the vowel sounds. A, e, u. So that's actually a alif with the fatha before it, a ya with the kasra before it, and a waw with a dhamma before it. These are all sakin. So that's the first one. The second one is what we just said. The second broad area of articulation is the throat, right? It's the throat. So these letters are huruf al-halq. So if the throat was, the letters of the throat we just said were what? 6 letters again? What were the 6 letters? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hamzun fa ha'un thumma aynun ha'un ghaynun kha. Okay? So these are the 6 letters of the throat. So the articulation points are important because now, for one thing, you know that these are the letters you do idhar, but also where to pronounce ayn versus a, right? Kha and gha. What's the difference between ha and ha? And we spend some time on those things. Again, we'll get practice as we recite. I'm not going to go through examples again. Okay. So that was that. Then we went through, so the next broad area of articulation for makharij is what? This is just common sense kind of things. Where else can you make sounds from? Yeah, your tongue, right? Your tongue. So, because mouth is not specific enough, because you can say lips and then you can say tongue. So the next place of articulation is going to be the tongue. And among the tongue is where most of the sounds originate from. So there's 10 makharij just in the tongue. And so the tongue is split up into the tip of the tongue, so the letters that you say like tha and tha, like from the tip of the tongue, and then letters that originate from غير طرف اللسان, so other than the tip of the tongue. So those are the ones we're going to do today, inshallah. Okay? So we're going to do the ones that are not from the tip of the tongue today. Okay, so that I will come back to it in a second. Just by the last thing that I want to review is, so we did 6 letters of idhar, and then what's the next rule that we did last week? The last rule we did? Idgham. Yeah. Or 2 weeks ago, actually. So I think we spent 2 weeks on it. So we did idgham. And so what are the letters of idgham? Yeah. So they make a mnemonic for everything that we'll study from here on out so that you can memorize it. So it's easy. The only one that doesn't have one is the letters of idhar, and it's like easy enough. Hamzun faha'un thumma aynun ha'un muhammatani thumma ghaynun kha'un. I don't know if that's easy, but it's like it rhymes. So they don't have one for that. Everything else will be like so that you can memorize it. So the word is yarmalun. The letters are ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, and nun. Okay? So yarmalun. So we said then for idgham there were 2 types. Right? There were 2 types. So now I get someone to answer all the questions, so that's good. So there's 2 types, because they're not helping. So 2 types. What were the 2 types? Yeah. So there's with ghunna and without ghunna. Okay? And so with ghunna we know is the nasal sound. You hold it for 2 beats, and we do ghunna. So what are those letters? Yeah. And what else? And? One more. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So examples of this are what? We said if you have I can't write. Right? So what do you do here? Somebody say it. Yeah. So you don't say minwa. You'd say min waraihim. You hold it for 2 beats and you do idgham. You join the noon to the waw. Right? So everybody say it after. Min waraihim. So 2 beats in this class is an exaggerated 2 beats. So you got to hold it for longer than 2 beats. Why? Because in reality, you're not going to do 2 beats when you do it by yourself. So overemphasize, over-exaggerate everything, so that you're doing it right. So min waraihim. Okay. So what's another thing we said about the ha when we were studying? Yeah, it's very unpronounced. So what do I mean by that is that people just make it a sound from the cavity. Like min wara'ihim, him, right? But it's actually ha, so it's him. It's an exhaling. So that's neglected generally by most people. Nobody actually says him. But in tajweed, we said tajweed means what? Yeah, betterment or beautification. So betterment more so. So we want to like emphasize everything in this class, over exaggerate things, so that when you do them, you'll do that. So good. So that's all the review I'm gonna do, because we'll get all of this when we practice. But there's 4 letters. So that was yanmu, and what's left? Yeah. So we have lam and ra. Okay. And these two are gonna be with or without ghunna? Without. Okay. So we can say I'm not putting in the shaddas that you might see in the mushaf or you might not, um, because we're trying to apply the rule. So try it. Just say it, anyone. Yeah, milladunhu, right? Milladunhu. So you basically it's complete idgham. So you're basically cutting this, putting a shadda here. Milladunhu. Do you do ghunna? Do you say milladunhu? No, you don't. Right? Ashhadu alla, not anla. Same mistake. That's very, very, very pervasive. Most people don't do idgham there. So a lot of people say ashhadu anla. They'll read it as in standard Arabic. But it's alla. Complete idgham. Right? Mir rabbika. Mir rabbika. It's again complete idgham. Okay, so those are 2. Then we said last week we also discussed 2 other classifications of idgham, which were what? One is with ghunna and without ghunna. Another way to break it down is, yeah, complete versus incomplete. So right now, for example, I just crossed out the noon. So there's complete, okay? And I'm just like flying through all this, I know. But we'll get practice when we read, because these are things we've already covered for a few weeks. And then there's incomplete. So think about these. Even if you weren't here, you should be able to figure them out. What's complete? Yeah, so we just did lam and ra. They're definitely complete because you can cross them out, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And meme and noon. Okay. So let's take an example. We say, we did lam and ra. I said mir rabbika and min ladunhu. So for noon, I can say, somebody come with an example. I'm drawing a blank. Idgham of noon, we say, yeah, something. Yeah, exactly. Anytime there's min ni'ma, right? So if you were to say min ni'matin, okay? Min ni'matin. So how would we say this? Min ni'matin. There'd be ghunna for 2 beats. Min ni'matin. So when you have a complete idgham, how is it indicated in the mushaf? Shadda on the next letter. Okay? You'll see it. It'll be there. You'll see min ni'matin. So this is kind of the easy one because the shadda will be there. Okay? And then another example with meme would be, right? Yeah, mimman. And last week we said mimman ma'ak. 3 idghams there. Okay. Incomplete. What are the 2 letters that are left? Yeah and wow. So now you won't see the shadda in some masahif. Some still put a shadda and some don't. And so this is like, mu